Strategic alliances take time, and CEOs can only put so much amount of time that is needed at the strategic level. This video provides CEOs a compass and a map to guide the strategic alliance process and engagement for the whole company. Strategic alliances at the CEO level starts with clarity and action which creates the right results. For example, being brutal about where you're winning, understanding some of the softer pieces like culture, and knowing what you really want is also extremely important. One of the big challenges that strategic alliance has been a black box is because there are many frameworks, but they're just frameworks. These frameworks can only talk about the what. There are no manuals, there's no guidelines, there's no structured process, and very naturally, that results into tons of errors. For example, at the CEO level, a lot of research needs to be done to identify the markets and their segmentation, understanding which market can the company dominate, can penetrate, and also maintain equilibrium with competition. Sales plays, use cases, transforming these use cases into the business cases, and understanding how the deal process moves across the buyer personas, which will decide an enterprise sale or a point sale. Those are extremely important pieces. That's exactly the reason clarity of the why is very, very important. Once you have clarity over these four elements, now dividing that strategy into channels, partnerships, alliances, and ecosystems all makes sense. And understanding that strategic alliances has only one yardstick at the CEO level. Does it create power or it cannot create power? You see, the sales reps in your company can provide direct power to the company. However, strategic alliances provides overall solution power, which is exactly the reason why strategic alliances is all about leverage, which results in more marketability, more market power. Before we go and talk about some of the critical elements of building a strategic alliance at the CEO level and provide a map, I think it is also equally important to understand what does not work. Some of the mistakes are going to cost you. So it is very important to understand some of these mistakes while building a strategic alliance. One question that always comes into everybody's mind: what can the partner really do for me? Well, the partner is probably asking the same thing. It just doesn't work. It has to be a win-win. Sometimes many CEOs might say, we just don't need anyone. Our salespeople are just perfect. Yes, possible. But again, remember, no one is really an island. Similarly, just creating the partnership, let's just announce it and we are good. Well, partnerships come with responsibilities, rules, commitments. So be careful. And just remember that some partners will always compete with you. It just happens. One needs to understand that what goes around will always come around. So if you're competing with your partners or your partners are constantly competing with you, the vice versa is always going to happen as well. So, let us take a moment and understand why alliances fail. Knowing what doesn't work is extremely important, or probably more important than understanding how things are going to work. Typically, we are all given the idea that what's the better together story? Can they lead us to the CIO, for example? Oh, that brand of that company is so good that we have to partner with them. Let's just quickly build a go to market. Well, there are multiple models that talks about how to build an alliance. I copied this from a slide deck and it looks great. But the real challenge of all these models is they are all about the what. Naturally, nobody's talking about how to make them work. That is the difficult process. However, the value is always in the how. And finding where exactly that value is going to be extremely critical. So now, let's go and build the compass for CEOs so they can build stellar strategic alliances. The answer actually lies in the yin and the yang. And I'm going to explain this philosophy a little bit more and tie it into a model that CEOs can always use. For example, we are always told that the yin and the yang basically means it's the polar opposites. Quite true, but it leaves out multiple elements. Let's take a look at it so we can apply that to strategic alliances at the CEO level. Strategic alliances have to be equal in strength, and you can see from the yin and the yang, both these pieces, both the colors, both the shapes are equal in color, equal in shape, equal in strength. So what matters is the powers need to be balanced, which is very critical, but more than that, they all have to have the same vision, so they cannot compete. And if there is competition, there's always going to be a part in the whole. But what will be the most important thing to observe is as long they complement, as long they are equal in strength, as long they can balance each other, have the same vision, and the last part being as long there's only a little bit of competition in the entire mix, all will be well. The last piece. We spend tons and tons of time understanding the strategic part of alliances. But remember, both sides need to balance each other, which means we always leave out the tactical part of alliances. So we do a good job at the strategic level, but we really need to do a great job at the tactical point of view. Here's a very interesting example. If you look at the way world wars have worked, because that is a perfect example of a brilliant strategic alliance, isn't it? Everything in that strategic alliance is about power. For example, if you compare the yin and the yang philosophies over here, you can see the polar opposites over here in thinking. The interests can be similar, the vision can be similar, but their entire thought process is entirely different. They come from opposite points of view. Similarly, strategic alliances happened over here by building equals of strength. Similarly, both sides balanced each other, and to balance each other needed a lot of aid and sometimes making some of these competitive elements go away. And the last part is there's, of course, a strategic point of view for alliances, but treaties were built, and these treaties were nothing but the tactical elements. Let's get back into business. Alliances, as you know, fail more often, and that is because the devil's always in the details. For example, the Chrysler and Daimler acquisition or merger really failed because of culture. Nokia and the Microsoft coming together failed because of market conditions. Similarly, there will always be extremely interesting alliances, but what will make them work is how do you balance the competitive elements? How do you ensure that there is a tactical alliance at the deal level as well? For CEOs, the most important piece is if there is no power in the alliance at the CEO level, that strategic alliance is not going to work. Now, strategic alliance and power can only work when they are aligned, which means power at the strategy level, power at the tactical level, all need to translate at the action point, which is at the deal level. Most people do a great job at the strategic aspect, sometimes even the tactical aspect. But when it comes to deals, the entire power structure breaks down. The unspoken word of strategic alliances is culture. I strongly believe that CEOs should read this article or go through Star Wars to get an understanding how culture and strategic alliances go hand in hand. Last couple of elements. We have talked about this. The digital age has new rules, and it's all about business ecosystems, platforms, and strategic cooperation. Your business model and your selling model need to align with these rules. This is very, very important. To end this entire video, we will go through the entire example before, which is CEOs need to be aware of the entire project and the entire ecosystem, not just the strategic alliance piece of it. For example, we talked about customers and your product and a GSI working together, but it is very important to understand the entire product ecosystem and the GSI ecosystem as well, so that your competitors or other ecosystem partners will not work together and replace you with a competitive product. Again, this is Strategic Alliance Management. We are dedicated about redefining these strategic alliance and ecosystems for digital transformation, product, consulting, and system integrators. Thank you.